colori si usa.
How are you, man? Nice face. My musical career got started when I was about 11 years old. My oldest brother was a marching instructor for a drum and bugle corps. And I used to go to rehearsals with him and watch them rehearse, and I became interested in playing music. I ended up starting on the French horn. At the time, I was in Catholic school, 6th grade, with no music program. So my parents put me into public school, summer school, so I could be in beginning band, which I started on the French horn. My school was vandalized, and my French horn got destroyed, and they switched me to trumpet. And so that's how I got started on trumpet, basically, because of some vandals. So I should thank them, whatever prison they're in now, for giving my career on the trumpet. My junior high band director was also a very good trumpet player. Good all-around trumpet player, played many different styles of music. He could play lead, he could play jazz, he could play classical well. If you needed a Dixieland trumpet player, he could sound like that. So he passed those skills on to me at a young age, and I didn't realize how important that was to me at the time. But the things he was showing me about different styles of music are very valid in what I do for a living today. Bow! The last note should be on the end of 4. I do a lot of recording work and things like that, and I never know what kind of music I'm going to have to play. So that experience he gave me has become very valuable to me at this point in my life. I'm 60 years old now, and I'm still drawing on the information that my junior high band director gave to me. So basically, in a nutshell, that's how I got started. This is for me?
Yep.
Oh my! Even more. I've been very fortunate and gotten to work with a lot of great artists and great musicians. So my career to me is a highlight in many ways. I'm very fortunate that I get to play this instrument for a living. Most people don't like their jobs. So every day is a highlight for me because somebody's going to pay me to do what I love more than anything in life. I feel very fortunate for that, and I never take that for granted for one minute that I get to play music for a living. I've got to work with a lot of great people over the years, Quincy Jones, and a name that really stands out to me, though, is somebody very famous in the band world, Mr. Sammy Nestico, who the very first jazz band chart I ever played was a Sammy Nestico tune called The Queen Bee that I played in the 7th grade. Now Sammy is over 90 years old, and he's a friend of mine, and I've played on many of his records now, so he's kind of a standout for me in many ways because it's somebody that I started with in my youth, the first name I saw on a jazz band chart, and I'm still working with him today. So that's one of the standouts for me. But there's hundreds of things that I'm proud of, and that my mother was very proud of as well. So. The feeling I get when I'm playing music depending on what the music is, sometimes it's pain because it's the trumpet. The trumpet brings a lot of pain. It also brings a lot of joy. When I'm playing, I'm thinking about, I'm never thinking about playing perfectly or will I ever play perfectly. You know, I think the goal should be to move the audience. To create excitement, to create emotion, create passion, and play 100% musically and not think about playing 100% perfectly. I think somebody that's thinking about playing perfectly all the time is like, it's kind of introverted way of thinking. You're thinking about yourself, like, oh, I have to be perfect, I don't want to make a mistake. And then if you do make a mistake, it hinders the performance. But also I think the audience can hear that when somebody's being careful. So I like to play with for lack of a better term, reckless abandon. I just give everything I have, and I try to be as passionate about it as I can, and hopefully that translates to the audience. And if I make a mistake along the way, it doesn't matter so much. You know, the feeling of the performance overall might be better, which I think is better than a note-perfect performance. There wasn't a lot of music in my family growing up, but before I started playing brass instrument, when I was younger, I did play the guitar a little bit. I didn't mention this earlier. My sister could play a little bit of guitar, and so she showed me, you know, 5 or 6 chords, and so I could play in church. I go ding, 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 you know, I knew my 5 or 6 chords, and I could play with the hymns, you know, and things like that. My oldest brother that I'd mentioned earlier, the marching instructor, he had played French horn when he was young. He was 22 years older than me, so he was around a long time before I was born, and he played French horn, even though he wasn't playing when I knew him. So I guess there's a little bit of music in the family. One of my other brothers played drums, brother closest to me in age, Howard. He played drums, not professionally, but he had a little band on my street where I lived, and some of the other kids would play. I'm the only one that went on to play professionally. It's great to be back in Rotterdam again. We're here on this ship, the SS Rotterdam, which is now a hotel. And ironically, I worked on this ship as a musician in 1984. So there's a lot of memories here for me. So walking around here and on this deck, I've been here before, you know, many years ago. We're here on the harbor. Here's a lot of construction going on around us. You can hear they're destroying things across the bay here a little bit. Some of the changes I've seen in the music industry, well, obviously technology has changed things a lot. You know, the invention of the synthesizer, for instance, you know, not that I think it's a bad thing, you know, I think, but it has changed the way music is performed now. We have now modern day, we have electronic sounds and samples of real instruments, and sometimes they're used to replace real instruments, and that's where I find fault with it. I think some synthesized sounds and manufactured sounds are great in addition to acoustic instruments, like with an orchestra on film sessions. A lot of times they'll have an orchestra, but then they have sampled sounds and other things to enhance it, like other musical instruments. And I've always thought that's how it should be looked at. Unfortunately, it's kind of shaped the way we think, because let's face it, you know, financially, if somebody can do something with some sample sounds and it sounds pretty good, and they don't have to pay somebody. The unfortunate part about that now, where the music is suffering, because that's never going to be as positive sounding or as great sounding as a real musician playing something. It's a sample. It's still a robot. It's never going to be as good. So that's changed the industry a lot. You know, most of my work I do is acoustic work, being a jazz musician and playing in big bands and things like that. And most of the recording sessions I do are with an orchestra. You know, but occasionally I go to a lot of home studios where they don't have the budget. You know, they're doing a TV show, maybe a small TV show. There's no big budget, so they're using everything they've written as samples. They have string samples for string section, and But if they need a little trumpet solo or something, it's very difficult for them to get a good sounding trumpet solo on a keyboard, even with the best sample. It still sounds like a synthesizer. So they'll bring a real musician in, or maybe a clarinet solo or an oboe solo. Very difficult to make these instruments, sound like the real person. So there's still some job security in this thing. So I'll go in and maybe play some solos for somebody. And I do a lot of recording at home too. I have a home recording studio. That's another way the industry has changed. A lot of us that are serious about this have found that understanding the technical side of this and how to record microphones and microphone mic pre's and things like that. I do a lot of projects for people over here in Europe. They send me a PDF of the music, and then they send me the track, and they say, can you play a trumpet solo on this? Or can you play these trumpet parts on this? And then I'll send it back to them, and they give me the okay, and they PayPal me some money, and I can do it in my pajamas. So it's kind of nice, but I mean, really, it's a very kind of artificial way to play music. It's fine, and for the industry, it's good, I guess. For money and keeping budgets so things can be affordable, it's fine. But personally, nothing beats playing in a band, playing with real musicians all at the same time, with the violin section and the cellos and all the brass section in the same room. That, to me, I always feel good about that. When I'm playing by myself and I have my headphones on and I'm playing to a synthesized rhythm track and I'm playing myself, it's like I'm a robot too. So financially it's rewarding. And it sounds good. It still sounds good, but it's not the same. Definitely not the same.